back in 2022, or about the end of 2022, beginning of 2023, basically at the end of last year, I made my top 10 video for figures that I got that year. And the number one figure in my list for that year was this guy, NewAge 28EX Octavian. 28EX specifically because this is the G1 Toy Colors version. And I explained in the top 10 video, but I'm gonna re-explain here. Basically, I got this guy and absolutely loved him, and he stayed at the top of my list for a while. He showed up kind of towards the end of the year, but the impact I got from this guy when I, started messing with him was so significant that I had to put him at the top, and I still believe he belonged there. But I have not made a video on him. It's been over a year, and I have not done that. So I'm finally getting around to that. And today we are finally taking a look at NewAge Octavian. And I can finally talk about how much I still absolutely adore this thing. Now, this is NewAge's Prime mold. I think it's first Prime mold, because they have a newer one that's a little bit more MP44 inspired. But this is the same, this cab is the same exact mold with just some minor molding differences in one particular spot as their other Prime, or Nemesis Prime in this case, Famine. So these two are exactly the same. It's the, exactly the same except for one small molding thing and obviously the colors. But structurally, they're pretty much the same. And so this is that figure, just with the trailer and all that. But as a whole package, I just absolutely adore this thing, and it does some really amazing stuff. And I'm going to be talking about it. So let's just get right into it. This is Ultra Magnus. It's the white cab with the blue and red trailer. In this case, with little missile thingies on it too. And it looks the part. It's done in G1 Toy Colors, so it's hard to see on camera, but the blue here has a very, very slight greenish tinge to it. It's a slight turquoisey color, which is more in keeping with the G1 toy. And of course, you also have the white and the red and all that. What I like about this, they did the thing where you've got core robot for the cab, and then the trailer section becomes armor. Though the way this works is not the same as the G1 toy, because this does actually come apart and integrate in more of a parts formy way, kind of like Earthrise, Siege, Kingdom, Magnus in that regard, just in terms of the trailer comes apart into multiple pieces and becomes armor, not, this doesn't just become one solid thing of armor and you slide the core robot in like the G1 toy, but the colors in this case are there. With one thing I really wish they had done differently, but I'll get into that later. It looks great. The detailing is really nice. There's a lot of nice molded detailing all over this thing. And I appreciate also how they even painted these little details here, because anyone who's familiar with the G1 toy knows that these bits here were actually hinged flaps, or not hinged flaps, but swiveling flaps that were designed to go in and out to basically support the arms up here. So you would push them in, and that would allow you to bring these down for the car carrier mode stuff. And I just love that those are both molded in there and painted white as they were on the original toy. I also like how the trailer is so full. It's not a big gappy thing. It's actually nice and solid along the inside here. And yeah, you've got obvious robot chest up there, but I just think it's really cool how they managed to get this whole thing put together where it looks like a more solid trailer, right in this section here. And it can do the trailer thing if you want to. It's easier to push these doors out from here, and because of the strength of these hinges, if you pull this down, these bits come up with it, so you kind of have to use a finger to hold those flaps down while bending these down. But you can lower the gate in the back, and if you untab these sections from here, you can bend them down to do the more standard Magnus car carrier thing. If you wanted to, you could bend them like that, though that doesn't really provide, like, it's kind of a steep angle there. But yeah, you can do the loading thing, which I think is great. I love that they were able to incorporate that. I feel like that's almost more necessary for a Magnus than the Matrix Chamber is for an Optimus Prime. And yeah, I don't really know what else to say about this thing. It looks really good, and it covers things up really well. You've got visible head under there and some other stuff, but like overall it comes together nicely, and it really does integrate the armor pieces really cleverly, because like this cab, just the cab is the armor. There's no extra bits that you have to store on or just the trailer is the armor rather. You don't have to store any extra bits on the cab. You don't have to do anything, wild to get everything to fit. It just goes together, and really intuitively too. I actually hadn't transformed this guy into his like core robot and trailer mode for a while, and I did it before this video. And like once I got everything separated and transformed and stuff, I was able to kind of half remember, half intuit how all of this comes together, and it was like really easy. So yeah, I really appreciate how surprisingly effective but not overly complicated this is. And it also, as you can see, it comes together as one more or less solid piece, because there's like a mushroom peg here for what counts as the trailer hitch, and it nestles in between these here. Like you can see on the Nemesis one, there's this little hole there, and it just nestles in there, and that allows this to pivot without actually coming out. It doesn't plug, it like collapses around it to really hold it in place. And because of the way this whole thing is designed, which is really clever, it gives you lots of clearance for rotation. You can't go 90 degrees with it, but like that's a pretty significant turn for an attached trailer. So that is really great. But you can separate the legs, and then this falls right out. As you can see, there's the mushroom peg, and there's how it attaches. So we'll just close that back up. And here we've got the trailer on its own, cab on its own, and let's zoom out a bit. And yep, totally separate entities. If you just wanted the white Magnus, there you go. And again, we'll bring in the Nemesis. So you can see they are the same figure, barring the, I believe the Matrix Chamber doors are shaped a little differently on this guy so that they can work in conjunction with the the armored up mode chest opening. And weirdly, there's like a panel on the back here. This little panel, which you're seeing the back of, is shaped differently on Magnus than it is on Nemesis, because this is designed to do something different for the combine mode. It still hinges the same way, it's just shaped differently. But there you go, they're pretty much identical, and if you really wanted to, you should be able to. I haven't actually tried this, but I'm pretty sure you can attach the trailer to Famine here. Yeah. And there you go. Now Famine is pulling the the Magnus trailer, and boy, does that not look right. But you can do it. So if anyone wanted to do that for whatever reason, it is an option. But really, you want to do it with this, because that is how it's supposed to, quote unquote, supposed to be. And yep, I don't know what to say, looks good. The cab has the same kind of detailing as with Famine, just, it's white instead of black, and you've got lots of nice silver detailing and a little bit of yellow in there. They don't call out the little lights up here, but this is supposed to mirror the G1 toy deco, and I don't believe the toy had those called out either. So, yep, there is how that all looks. Now let's move on to our size comparisons, because I really want to move on to the robot stuff, because that is really where this whole thing shines. So, NewAge, so it's Legend scale, which means he is a little tiny. but that's how these things go. I mean, really, I feel like chances are you're familiar with NewAge or familiar with Legends scale stuff, so like this should not come as a surprise to anyone watching this. If it is, then hey, welcome to the wonderful world of small scale transformers. It's actually really cool. But anyway, there is Octavian with the trailer and everything with a standard deluxe. And, well, we already saw it, but real quick, there's with Famine. Famine did not come with a trailer, so don't expect that. And also, just in case you're curious, there is with Core Class Nemesis Prime. So there they are. Core Class Prime is a little bit smaller, at least in vehicle mode. It's smaller in robot mode too, but we'll get to that later. And finally, the most important of size comparisons, here is Octavian with the Duck Tank. Alright, transformation time. But before we do all of that, just to let you all know, if you like this video or any of the other videos that I've done on the channel and you want to support things, I do have a Patreon. And that Patreon is for a single $1 tier. It's just the $1 tier. That $1 a month gets you early access to new videos, as well as access to the occasional Patreon-only video, which I do make sometimes. And yeah, that will support the channel. Otherwise, I do have coffee. Either of those things are linked at the end card or down in the description. So like if you want to do a non-subscription thing, there is the coffee. Otherwise, you could always support by doing the typical YouTube thing of like, comment, share, subscribe, and so on. Now, to transform this guy, we're going to do just the core robot first. And this is the same as Famine, but still going to go over it. First thing I want to do is pop the legs apart, like we did to separate it from the cab or trailer. And then this kind of can swing out, this can swing out. You also want to kind of pull this up a little bit because this does tab over. It's like a little tab there that this little front skirt piece tabs into. So pull that up, pull those out. Now, this piece will kind of swing around. Actually, before we swing that around, I want to open this, swing this out, take this wheel section here and pop that out. That is really, really attached on this guy. I'm gonna have to pull out the spudger for this because I don't want to pull too hard because I don't want to inadvertently like pull that wheel off the pin, off the pin. But yeah, pull that out so we can bring all of this down. And we want to we'll use the opportunity now that this is out and folded around. We're going to bring this around, and this is supposed to be kind of slid up. And that should give you kind of enough room to swing this around. You may have to flex around a little bit, but swing this around like that. Then this can slide back down. And you want this little canister thing on the inside like that. Now, I want to hinge this all the way up like this, because that'll give us the clearance to rotate this around. So you want those wheels facing down from this angle, because this will come in and be the foot, and you want the wheels on the inside of the leg. But before we do all that, you want to take the toe and rotate that 90 degrees so it lines up with the flat piece here. And there we go. There's a foot. Now this can come around and tab in with the shin piece. And then this piece here, with it folded all the way out, can swing around and tab over this. And then that just comes in, and there we've got one leg. Just want to rotate that 180 degrees. And there we go. There's one leg done. Second leg is the same deal. I'm going to untab that, bring that out. I'm going to unplug the wheel section here, which is being equally difficult. There we go. Unplug that, and now we'll swing it around the other way because I think that's actually the intention. So rotate this around like so. Then we can kind of swing this around, and you want to slide this down because this little tab here will go inside. There's like a little notch on the canister there that tab will go in. So you want to make sure that goes in like that. Then you can straighten out that shin panel. And now before we line all this up, you of course want to fold this in all the way, rotate it so the wheels go in the leg like that, and then rotate the toe, straighten that out, bring this around and tab all that together. Then bring this around, tab that in there, straighten that out, and there we go. Rotate the leg 180 degrees, and there we've got both legs all done. And the upper body is a little more involved. So I want to unplug the butt plate, which actually tabs in here. So you want to unplug that. You also want to take the time to get these side skirts folded out. And with those folded out, you can hinge the hips up and into place. That takes care of all that. This can come down. There we go. Then take the wheel well sections, and I like to pop those out because in popping them out, that little tab will pop open the cab door, and that just makes getting the cab door out a lot easier. So do that. There we go. Now this whole front section of the truck can come up. I'm gonna rotate the doors down a little bit and then fold those windows down. Just leave it like that. Now we're going to untab the arms. They're tabbed into kind of like a central column thing here, so you want to untab them and then you can swing them out. It's just a matter of getting all of that lined up. Or not lined up, but getting a finger in there to get it. But yeah, if I swing this out, you can kind of see there's a little tab right there that will tab into that part of the arm right there. So you want to get that out of the way, and now we can swing the arm out. This panel that was the side of the truck folds in. This fist rotates 180 degrees, and just going to leave it out like that for now. I can use the opportunity to fold this out of the way. And this is the piece that I was talking about that's different compared to Famine, and we'll get into that when we get into like robot mode and combination. But with that done, it's a little bit easier to get this arm unplugged. Just untab it, bring it out, and here you can see how the arm is kind of folded in for the vehicle mode. So just straighten that out, fold that panel in, and then rotate the fist around. Now I'm going to take this assembly here, and this will swing around like that. And what that does is it changes where the shoulder is located on the torso. So you want to swing that around, and we'll just rotate the arms again to get those out of the way. Then can take this panel here and bring that back, flip out the head, and bring that back down. Now, want to, with this pulled out, want to get these wheels kind of out of the way. So I'm just going to rotate those down. And now this panel will rotate 180 degrees, and it is, there we go. There's an extra hinge there. I had problem with the in the Famine review or Famine video with that because of not really making use of that hinge. But use that hinge to get the clearance to rotate that 180 degrees. Then this whole thing, this whole front of the car cab will fold in. It's got multiple hinges, so you want to fold these bits in first. And I find it's easiest to keep these rotated out a little bit because that gives you plenty of clearance to get past that grill. Then this comes in and kind of tucks underneath the armpits, and then these bits can rotate in more to hide themselves. And just rotate those in, push that up so that it's nice and flush, like that, and there we go. And now this, you pull out all the way so that you can rotate this piece 180 degrees, and that will become the actual robot chest. This now can fold in, and before you fold it in all the way, I find it's easiest to angle these wheel sections in a bit so that they can have an easier time of tucking up and inside this section here. So you bring those in, those will kind of tab in place, collapse this whole thing down, rotate the waist 180 degrees. Oh, forgot to do this before. Just extend that again. The front skirt here actually rotates around 180 degrees to look proper. Then you can close this up, bring this down, rotate the arms so that they are facing forward. And lastly, this piece here just folds up on that hinge so it lies flush against the back. And there we have Octavian's core robot mode, which is just a white Optimus Prime. And it looks good, it looks the part. I like how he's got lots of extra toy details. Like I really like the silver with the white, but I also like the detailing in the forearms, the pantographs in the knees, the little like lights and whatnot, the toes. I think that looks really good. And yeah, I mean, functionally, this is the same exact figure as Famine. Like bringing in Famine, aside from the colors, obviously, the way that the matrix chamber doors work and that panel on the back are really the only differences. There you can see how different that back panel is for the Nemesis, for Famine. And the thing is, like, yeah, you can't, as you can see, there's no seam here, so you can't open Octavian's chest like you can with Famine. Famine's chest is just here, two doors, they swing out. There you go, matrix chamber. But with Octavian, because of the armor piece, you can see the doors are actually smaller and kind of inside the chest, and they are a bit tricky to get going. I'm honestly not sure how I'm going to get these open to show you. There we go. So those open like that. So that is a key engineering difference between the two. But yeah, it's the same exact transformation and everything. I'll get you out of the way for later. But core robot does look really cool. I still think it's a neat core mold, and it looks really good in these colors. I like the, as I said, the toy detailing. I like the bright silver that they used for the thighs and some of the other bits. It's very clean all the way around. This red piece on the back does stand out a bit, but that is for the sake of the armored up mode. And yeah, overall, extremely cool. Now, of course, this is a core Magnus, specifically toy colors version. So you've got the Optimus Prime head, but with the bright white, and the blue face mask, blue head crest, silver face, and red eyes. It just looks really good like that. And it's just, it's an Optimus Prime head with the blue face mask. It's core Ultra Magnus. That is how that design tends to be. And articulation-wise, again, same as Famine. I don't know why I keep forgetting. But you've got a ball-jointed neck, so you can look left and right. It's very stiff, though. I don't really, because he's armored up so much, I don't really use this guy's head articulation, but turns left and right. You don't really get any side to side, but you can look up quite a bit. And you can kind of look down a little. The arms can go all the way around. They can go out past 90 slightly, and I love that the smokestacks do not bang into the head, so you don't have to worry about any kind of weirdness there. There's an extra hinge here, which we'll use for the combined mode or armored mode, but that is an extra hinge you could use if you want. There's a bicep swivel just above the elbow, which is good because that's kind of better than putting it below the elbow. You also get an elbow, which is 90 degrees. Could be better, but still good for what it is. And then you get a full-on wrist rotation. And these are NewAge hands, so they can pop out. I don't remember if this guy comes with extra hands or not. He probably does. There's that. Get a waist rotation that can go all the way around. And as you saw during transformation, you have this assembly here, which allows you to get an ab crunch, or you can angle back if you want, so you can do some extra stuff there. For the hips, you've got a butt skirt, front skirt, and side skirts that can get out of the way. So you can bring the leg up to about there, or back to about there. Or you can also use that drop hinge, which is actually for the transformation, which will give you more clearance so you can go up further in either direction. Same thing here, you can go out to pretty much 90. If you angle this down, you don't have to worry about anything else banging in there. But yeah, you get pretty much 90 degrees of outward motion. You get a full thigh rotation. And then the knees can bend pretty much all the way in, because you've got a nice double jointed knee there. And then for the feet, it's a simple mechanism, but it actually works pretty well. You've got ankle tilt that can go just 180 degrees practically, which is absurd. But then because of the transformation, you can also use this as like a forward and back rocker. You can't really go forward. You can't point the toe much because of this knocking into this, but you can move the toe forward, so you can use that for added posing options. So yeah, the core robot does look good and pose good, and is just a neat little figure all on its own. Of course, that's not the main reason you get this set, and we'll go straight to size comparisons so that we can actually get to the main reason why you get this set. So first off, here are our standards. Whoops, just dropped over Prime. Here are our standards. You can see how he measures up against a Voyager, the equivalent of a tall deluxe, and something people might be more familiar with in terms of general size. There, all that is. All this out of the way. Here he is with Burnout for a more standard contemporary deluxe. So there is that. Now we'll bring Famine back in, so you can see they're the same figure, same height, just different colors. So there's all that. Now that I'm looking at it, it does look like the front skirt section is molded differently, so that is another difference, but it's minor. It's all very minor changes. So yeah, the front skirt is different, but again, functionally pretty much an identical figure. Here he is with Core Nemesis Prime. So he is bigger than a core class. And for the heck of it, we'll bring in a couple more comparisons. Here he is with Magic Square's Transporter, who is a standalone Magnus. This guy does not have a core robot mode. So yeah, the core robot for Octavian is only a little bit shorter than the entire armored up Magnus mode for Transporter. And here he is with NewAge Agamemnon, the comic colors, so they're about the same height. There is him with Megatron. And lastly, for the most important size comparison of them all, as always, here is Octavian with the Duck Tank. All right, armoring up time. First, we got to get the core robot into his correct orientation for all of that. So, first thing we're going to do is just bring these arms back out, bring this piece out, and now we're going to extend all of this, and that'll happen. We need that to happen anyway because we want to open all this up so that we can rotate that around, pull out this piece here because we need to rotate the shoulders to their truck mode position, like so. And then this can all collapse back down. And should keep that on camera. There we go. Collapse that back down, rotate this back around, bring this back down and fold these back in, and collapse this back down. Now, this folds back, the head folds in, and this just sits like that. Now the arms will rotate up, like so. Now straighten them out. Bring these in, and the shoulders will sit inside these little grooves here. Bring those in, rotate them. I think this is kind of up in the air how you want to do it, but I prefer to have this detail facing up, so rotate the arms so that this detail, the tops of the forearms, fronts of the forearms, whatever, are lined up with the smokestacks. Rotate the fists so that they are palms down, and then use that extra joint in the arm to angle these arms down like this. And so we want this somewhat awkward thing going on here. And then lastly, this piece is the one of the big engineering differences. This will actually fold up around 180 degrees to give you a kind of proper Ultra Magnus back. And now I am going to try to see if we can also do the armor with Famine. However, some things that are different here. Famine, for one, this piece does not hinge back 180 degrees. It's just not built that way, so it's got to hang down like that. And also, you may notice there are no notches carved into this panel here, so these shoulders don't quite go in all the way. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to try it, but I'm feeling like this may not actually work to, to put the armor on Famine, but we'll see. But anyway, now that we've got all of this done, I'm going to put him off to the side and work on the trailer itself. Now to take the trailer apart, I want to pop off these little missile launchers, and they actually peg in to this piece here, and they peg in extremely well. So I'm going to try to use the spudger to pop them out. Push them out rather than pull, because I don't want to risk snapping something. Come on. They are in there really well. Okay, maybe use the spudger to pry. Am I going to have to use off-camera screwdriver or something? I think they're coming. I think it's coming out. Yeah. Boy, that is disconcerting. Okay, well, we'll deal with that in a minute. Anyway, instead, going to untab this section here, and then move that up. Going to untab, let's see. Going to come in here and untab these pieces. I want to pop that out, pop that out. That will allow us to get this kind of central armor piece out. Now we can split this apart, split this apart, and swing this around. This strut comes up, and then this folds in, and rotate the head around. Here you want to pull this through. It's basically like a similar to Magic Square's version where you want to hinge it forward. I'm hoping that maybe doing this will pop the missile out. Let's see what happens. So kind of pull this forward and hinge. And there we go. Yep, that popped the missile out. Okay. Whew. Anyway, hinge that around. Then, as you might expect, zoom out so you can see more here, rotate this up. And now this all folds down and combines, but instead of what Magic Squares does, it's all split in half. So as you fold this down, those pieces come together to make his kind of shoulder spire. Rotate there. I'm going to take the fist, pull that out, untab this from here, and then hinge it back and tab it in there. And there is one arm. And here we'll do the arm first before we do the shoulder bit. So bring that up, rotate that down and tab it together. Pull out the fist and hinge this back, take that in, and then bring this around and pop off missile. Clips in way too well. And then hinge this down like so. And there is the upper body. all ready to go. Actually, before we do that, we'll just plug in the missiles. So that plugs in there, and then this one has a peg rather than a peg hole because this stuff pegs together for the vehicle mode. So smart how they do that. But there we go. Now, big reason why I took that piece out first is because when you disconnect all of this, it does split down the middle. But one key difference is this, there's like a little tab up in here. It's kind of hard to see, but like right here, that doesn't pull apart, more slides apart. So you want to be careful with that. And I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to reach that if I didn't take that other piece out first. But pull that out, separate that, and then this can also kind of flay open because of this thing that's pegged in here. So unpeg that, unpeg that. This was like this for vehicle mode. Going to hold this down like so. Now I'm going to take the wheels, bring those down, rotate them, bring them back up, a lot like Magic Square. Take this panel and this will fold up like that. This panel here will pop up and it pegs in here and here, so you've got to unpeg it in a couple of spots. With that unpegged, now we can grab this, and this piece will come out, and that is like this slot right here that pegs over that. So that will come out and go over there, and this panel here folds in like that, and this can fold around like that, and we will just leave this like this for now. Same deal with this leg, just mirrored. Bring this down, rotate it, bring it back up, and that gets the wheels up into the foot. Unpeg this in 2 spots, and also, of course, I want to get this out of the way. But unpeg this, bring it up, pop this little piece off, swing this in, and it kind of tabs in right there. Bring this panel down, and there we go. And now we can armor him up. So this whole thing will slide together, and there is a little peg right here that'll peg into the shin cap, whatever ankle section right there. So bring this in and peg that in. This can come up. This comes up, and this tab will tab in right back there. And then this panel folds around and tabs in somewhere. Does tab in, kind of. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it just sits. Oh wait, no, I see. Okay, it's right here. This little tab goes in there. That closes that off. Now this piece, there's a tab on the inside that will go into the slot on the thigh there. There we go. There's one leg. Other leg is the same deal, except there's a peg here rather than a hole, and then there's a hole there. So do that, that up, bring this up and tab it in, bring this around, and then grab the little thigh piece, tab that in there, and we are well on our way to having a Magnus. Next, you want to use that ab crunch piece to bring this up. This will slide in, and then there are tabs on the underside here that will actually tab into these little slots right there. And the more I'm doing this, the more I'm thinking this is not going to work with Famine, because I don't think Famine has most of these slots and like peg points and stuff. But that goes down. Bring this down. And let me just double check Famine real quick. Let's see. Famine does have the peg and port on the legs. Does have the slots up there, but does not have the slots for the thigh pieces. So this could still work. We'll see. Anyway, last thing is this piece slides across here with this this little piece kind of nestling between the arms. That all slides in. And then this folds in, and these little tabs here will peg in right in there. And that will lock all that together. And there we go. There is Octavian in his fully armored up mode. And this is so awesome. And this is what I was talking about too as a, like, this is the thing. This was the whole reason why this figure was so important to me and why I made sure he was my number one for 2022. And that is because getting this guy fully armored up made me feel things. I actually got very emotional about it because I didn't realize just how significant G1 Ultra Magnus was for me, memory-wise. But, like, getting this guy made me realize just how much I messed around with that figure. And how familiar I was with the G1 color scheme, the G1 play process, and all that. And so having this third-party Legends scale version of that really hit me in the nostalgia, and I guess you could say in the feels. And yeah, my eyes got a little watery when I first combined them, and it's just like, yeah, this is something that's going to be in my top figures for the year. And it was, and I would not change his placement on there at all, because this thing looks incredible. The coloring and separation is almost perfect, with the big clunky shoes and the car carrier shin plates and just everything is so great on this guy, and the colors are fantastic, with the one exception of the waist piece. This bothers me, and it's probably a petty thing, but like, NewAge put so much effort into the decorations of other parts of this figure, with, like, you know, they even painted these little bits on the side here white so that they stood out. Like, that is extremely clever. But this bugs me because the entire panel is white, when really it should be red around, like, the flatter bits, and then this textured piece going across should be white. So I really, really wish they had painted the outside, like, edges red. I'm sure there's a reason for it, whether it's budgetary or mechanical or whatever, but I just wish this was red and white and not just white. But then I'm also a little irritated by it because I've looked at other versions of this mold, and it is painted. So they could have done it, they just didn't for one reason or another, and it bugs me. It does absolutely not ruin the toy for me. As I said, it's my number one for 2022, and I would not change that. But that's just, like, they could have done red, and disappoints me that they didn't. But that gripe aside, this thing looks incredible, has some nice heft. It's very clean, all things considered. Like, yeah, he's got, like, some upside down smokestacks on his back and, like, robot arms chilling right at the top here, but, like, they blend in pretty well. And I don't know, I like how this piece can kind of come up and fill in the back. And I also really appreciate how the core robot has silver thighs, but then these red pieces come in and really kind of mask that for the most part and makes it seem more, you know, G1 toy colors. It's just really cool. He looks super good, and I love him, and the only thing that bugs me is this silly thing. Now, for the head, it is, it's Ultra Magnus's head, but it's like toy colors, so it's that kind of, you know, toy blue, but with the very bright white face and the yellow eyes and silver smokestacks, and just, it looks great. I mean, understandably, like, what color the toy is really depends on which toy you have, because I've seen versions of this guy where, like, the combined armored head is, like, a different color, or it's not painted at all, it's just like a solid piece. But I'm used to blue head, white face on the armored up Magnus. That is what I remember from my toy, so I'm totally into this. And the yellow eyes, for some reason, just work perfectly for me in terms of, like, oh yeah, this is a toy colors version. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, I associate yellow eyes with toy colors. And yeah, it looks the part. I love it's got these giant ears and It's molded well and sculpted well and painted well. It just looks really good. Now for the articulation, the head is ball jointed, so you can go all the way around and you can look up and down to a degree. There's also this hinge here, so you can kind of use that for some added up if you want, but it's a little limiting. You'd get a little bit of side to side, but because of the arms there, they do kind of get in the way a bit. I think I just, yeah, almost popped out one of his antennae. But you get lots of motion on the head. The arms can go all the way around. They also can swing out to about that far, which, given everything going on here, I think that's understandable. But you also get an added joint in here. Boy, I am not keeping this on camera. I'm sorry. The arms swing out to there, but then you have that added joint there that allows you to get the arms out even further. Let's see if the missile's not there, how far out can this go? Okay, so pretty much without problem, you can go almost a full 90 degrees out because of that extra joint, which I really like that they put that in there. And even with the missile in place, you can still go out pretty dang far. You get a bicep swivel. There is a over 90 degree bend at the elbow, so you actually get better elbow articulation with the combined mode, or armored mode. The fists are, they do rotate, but because of all the armor bits in there, you're not going to get anything really useful out of it. But the rotation is there. You also get the same waist rotation as the core figure, and because of that hinge that's still accessible there, you can get a bit of an ab crunch forward and back if you wanted to use that. The hips pretty much do the same thing as before. With all of this stuff, you can kind of get all the multiple things out of the way. You can swing forward to pretty much 90. If you use the drop joint, you can get a little bit further past 90. Same deal with the back. Mostly the same deal with the out. Can't go quite as far just because the thigh's a little thicker now, but still decent hip articulation, especially given how chunky this guy is. You still get that thigh rotation, and it's the same knees, so you get the double jointed knees, but because of all of the stuff in here, you're really not gonna be able to get the same amount of knee bend. It still goes a little past 90, but you can't get the full-on deep knee bend because of all those bits. And then that foot is completely closed off. You're not going to get any articulation out of the original figure's foot, but you do get a separate foot that can angle out. If you angle it out all the way, then that's happening, but you can still get some pretty decent ankle tilt without revealing the inner robot toes. So, yeah, quite well articulated for what he is. Now, before we move on to the last bits of it, let's try attaching all this nonsense to Famine. I know it's not going to work completely, but I still want to try. So we'll pull this off, pop this up, and pull this off, pull these off, and then unplug the back sections here, open these up, and slide these out. And let's just see where this goes. Bringing in Famine. Well, that should, it looks like this should work. So slide that in, bring that up, and that does peg in. Bring that around. There we go. And here, put that in, around, bring that in, peg that in. And yeah, that works. These, nope. Those are not going to work. This will still, looks like, come in, and yep, that can still go in like that. Still line up like that. This, and maybe, will it work? It does slide in. He does not have the tabs for the armor to attach to, so you're just kind of like it's just kind of sitting on there. It's not actually fully attached, so those can still waggle. This could still potentially slide out, but it kind of technically still works on him to a degree. I mean, so much of the design is the armor, so you're not really getting anything new out of it, but hey, there he is. If you wanted to see what it looks like putting the armor on Famine, that's how it looks. All right, let's disrobe him and get the armor back on Octavian. Come on, let go. There you go. Go. And let's get this guy back into his actual robot mode. And let's get him all armored up again. That in, that in, that in. It is very simple. It's just making sure to do all the flaps and whatnot. But yeah, I do think this is great. And I know that Magic Square also has a Ultra Magnus armor set that they did for their Prime, but I'm just not super interested in that. I've heard things that I'm not super jazzed about, and that maybe that's unfair, just going by what other people are saying and not experiencing it for myself. I can acknowledge that, but the thing is, I'm not going to buy a thing that I'm not super excited about, because I only get figures that I want. I'm not, I hate to break it to y'all, but I'm not going to buy something just to cover it. I'm only going to buy it if I want it. So I don't want it, and I don't really see a reason to want it now that I have this guy, because this guy is perfect for me. So I'm not gonna get it. Anyway, weapon-wise, I've got a couple of his guns. There's the big chunky one that is molded really well. It's just a solid white piece of plastic, but it is big and chunky, and unfortunately doesn't store in the vehicle mode or the trailer mode. I don't really think it's a huge problem, but it would have been nice if they could store. Same deal with this gun. It's a smaller one, also molded really well, also a solid piece of plastic, and has absolutely no place to store in vehicle mode, other than, like, I guess you could just toss them in the trailer, like in the empty space there. But yeah, but there he is. He looks great. And before we do our last little bit with size comparisons, we do need to do the matrix chamber thing. So you can access it from here. You can pop this whole piece up like so. And now that I'm thinking about it, maybe this helps for the vehicle mode. I don't know. But you can pop that up. And then, once again, open this up. And there you go. There is the visible matrix from Magnus, from the Magnus mode, and it is what it is. I just like that because that is how I prefer it. But yeah, but this guy is extremely cool. I love this thing, and I'm still to this day extremely thrilled by him. Can you tell? All right. And now, of course, when he's armored up, he does get a bit chunkier. So here he is with our more typical size comparisons. There he is, just looking a little bit taller. I'd say this puts him a little bit closer to that deluxe height range, which we'll actually know for sure once we bring in Burnout. And yeah, I'd say that makes him, we go by, even if we ignore the ears and just go by the top of the head, that does make him a little bit taller than typical deluxe. So yeah, it makes sense too, because it's Ultra Magnus. Ultra Magnus is going to be kind of a big guy. Now, other comparisons. Here he is with Famine. So this can give you an idea of just how much more height and bulk gets added when you do the armor over the core figure. Because again, Famine is the same. It's the same as the core figure. It's just Nemesis colors and molded slightly differently in a few places. But size-wise, that is the difference there. It is quite the difference. Here he is with core class Nemesis Prime looking absolutely tiny next to him when he's all armored up. I mean, yeah, Nemesis Prime was tiny before, but yeah. Here he is with Magic Square's Transporter. We saw this comparison in Transporter's video, but I wanted to make it again. So yeah, there is armored up Magnus versus truck and trailer become Magnus with no core robot. I mean, it's also a different, it's Magic Square, so probably slightly different scale and all that. Here he is with NewAge Agamemnon. Yeah, I think that works. I'm not a scale buff, but they look good together at least. And then for a couple more Magnuses, just because, bring in Shattered Generation Selects Shattered Glass Ultra Magnus with repro labels. There is how Octavian looks next to the, well, I can't say the current version of Ultra Magnus anymore, but one of the more common mainline Ultra Magnus molds. It's the one that involves a core robot, at least. And here he is with the actual current modern Magnus. That is Studio Series 86 Ultra Magnus, who is just a big heckin' boy. Yeah. And I said this as much in his video, but I absolutely, I love that. It's so silly, especially because I absolutely hate Matrix gimmicks, but I do actually really love the silly little spring-loaded Matrix door thing they put on this guy. And that is that. And finally, to round it out, gotta do, save the best for last and all that. Here is NewAge Octavian with the Duck Tank. And yay, I finally did the video on NewAge 28EX Octavian, the Toy Colors version, and I've said it multiple times, and I'll try to say it quickly rather than go over all the little details again, but I do absolutely adore this. The toy deco just hits me so hard. I did want to get the Shattered Glass version, and I was a little bit bummed that I missed out on it. But then NewAge is like, hey, here's the Toy Colors version. I was like, yes, I will get that. And I did not expect to be, like, I knew I was going to enjoy it, but I didn't expect it to hit me the way that it really does because of that nostalgia that I didn't even realize was as intense for me as it apparently is. But this is a fantastic set, and I feel like if you're looking for an Ultra Magnus figure, and, you're okay with the scale and all that, and you want the, the core robot and trailer becomes armored up mode rather than one whole self-contained truck and trailer becomes Ultra Magnus thing, then I'd say find a color scheme of this guy that you like and get him, because he is just fantastic, fun to mess with, fun to flip back and forth, really simple and intuitive, really, in terms of like getting the armor and stuff ready. And yeah, you really can't go wrong if you're looking for an Ultra Magnus of some kind. He's got his limitations, yes. The wrist articulation is weird, unfortunately hampered because of how bulky things are on the forearms for the armored up mode. And, it does kind of suck that in this case in particular, they didn't paint the front piece to be a little bit more accurate, because accuracy is the whole thing they're going for here. But it is what it is, and it's fine. If it bothers me enough, I may just take a paintbrush to it myself someday, but I probably won't. Point is, this is a great set, and absolutely get it if you're interested in it at all, because it is totally worth it. But that's going to do it for NewAge Octavian. Thank you all for watching, and hey, let me know what you think of this guy, or any other Ultra Magnus figures, or even like the, if anyone who has the Magic Square version of Ultra Magnus, whether it's Transporter or the armor set for the Optimus Prime that they did, let me know what you think of that as it compares to this. I'm curious, because like I said, I never touched that thing myself. But whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. And by the time you're watching this, we are well into, not well into, but we have begun 2024, so hopefully your new year has been going well so far. And we'll see what the next thing I talk about is. Hopefully it won't be an hour like this video has been.